I'm 30 mil. Today I'll bring you a very hot take that is indisputably true. You should trust me when I say that bad fruits will always be bad regardless of the user. Let me explain. But first, I will be merely paraphrasing what Bafael, a fighting game YouTuber, said about tier lists being a thing, but I will make it so even Blox Fruits players will understand. People think the difference between low-tier fruits and high-tier fruits is imaginary, and that all fruits, swords, guns, races, etc. are equally good. Anyone who says this doesn't have any actual evidence supporting it, and it is ridiculously over-optimistic and naive. It also puts too much faith in the developers to perfectly balance every component in Blox Fruits. Although it's admittedly hard to straight-up dispute the argument that every fruit is reliable without a long explanation on how it's wrong. So today I'll be showing you a bulletproof argument that tiers exist, and not every fruit, gun, sword, etc. is overall equal. So if you ever hear your dumb friends say this, then you can send them this video. First of all, I will be describing fruits, guns, swords, races, fighting styles, etc. as components. Next, I'll give you some context for this argument. This is katana, just a straight-up katana from C1. It has two moves. One is a super short dash that damages, and the other is a projectile that is also super short. Both of the moves don't ken break. You can see both of the damages right here. The next one is shisui. Both of the moves have more range and speed with more damage scaling, and even though both moves don't ken break, it's indisputably better than katana by a long mile. The next example is Spike. Spike has a ground attack, a close-range stun lock, a pseudo-grab move, and the first move, but goes in a line. At first, you see it as a fruit that only has comparable weaknesses, such as low range, low damage, most of the moves can't hit in the air, only having 4 moves, etc. But when you use it, it would harm you more than it harms the opponent. The X doesn't have any stun advantage, which means that they can use the moves at the same time as you do, and the C move is punishable, on hit, which means that the opponent gets to hit you first before you do a move. Now let's take a look at Do. It has a projectile that stuns. It has a ground attack that acts like Spike Z, but stuns and is useful on ground combos, and you can use it in the air to bring them to the ground if aimed properly. It has a ground wheel that grabs as well, but instead of bringing them to wherever you go, you do a 4-second spin that gives stun advantage after the damage. And finally, the V move, which is a barrage that stun locks the opponent, and you can bring them towards you or away from you. I would mention that Do has an F move for transportation, but I wouldn't compare it to Spike, which has no F move. So in comparison, Do has better damage, better range, better air combat, and better stun advantage. Obviously, Do is indisputably a way better fruit in everything that Spike does. But what if some component in the game is way different than the other component? How do we compare them? We'll be comparing Bomb and Rumble. As I said, it gets harder to compare two things if they have more differences in their toolkit. Bomb can't do Rumble's teleports and stun moves, and Rumble can't do Bomb's self-detonation and landmines. But the one thing to determine how good a toolkit is the capabilities. Bomb's max damage condition is only achieved when fully charging C and V move, and without charging, the damage becomes lackluster for a last move in the moveset. Another problem for Bomb is how half of the moveset can't really be used in a combo because they lack the stun advantage to do a combo with them, thus relying on another component, most likely fighting style, to do a combo. This is because Bomb is used for set play, which is a playstyle that relies on setups in order to be useful. But the problem in this kind of set play is that it does more harm than good if you want to do a set play with Bomb, even though Bomb is a set play fruit. In fact, the Rumble user has enough range to use Rumble C to chip or even severely damage the Bomb user while they're charging the V move. While Rumble has 3 stun moves, and although 3 of them don't have that fast of a startup, it still has more capabilities than Bomb through the length of the stun and how unavoidable the stuns are for some cases. This fruit can also be used as a non-fruit main because of how useful the toolkit is outside of damage, while bomb fruit gives little to no use outside of fruit main. While you might think bomb has more damage potential than most of the fruits in the game, the chances of you actually hitting it are virtually impossible except if the opponent doesn't know how to combat it, which is pretty easy. And to no one's surprise, Rumble is a better fruit than bomb simply because it has a more useful toolkit. Some arsenal with better toolkits tend to win more, while some arsenal with worse toolkits tend to lose. In short, not every fruit can be OP, and in fewer words, tier lists are real. Another argument is that tiers don't matter if you're good at the game. This is also a super naive statement to make because this is straight up wrong. For example, at the low skill region, such as 2.5 to 5 mil bounty region, ice and sand tend to be stronger because low-skilled players tend to just stay on the ground because it's easier to hit moves there. While on the higher skill level, this is not the case because high-skill players know the importance of being in the air and their proficiency on air combat. Another example is how Rumble's stuns can't be capitalized by low-skilled players because of the lack of stun-confirming attributes and long startup that makes the moveset feel lackluster to use, but the high-skilled player can capitalize on those moves by using prediction and sharp observation. Blox Fruits surprisingly has deep and unique combat mechanics, but the devs sucked at balancing the game because they want to appeal to the kids who can only use easy-to-use stuff that makes them think they're good at the game. The balance is worse than any fighting game in the 90s, but it doesn't change the fact that the games can be fun, especially when rules are made to set the ground with certain bans. You can play the more fun and fair PvP in a crew server, like the CP0 Discord server, and join a Blox Fruits private server. But you can also request a 1v1 with me using a set rule that I allow, or make myself. To do that, you can DM me on my Discord in my bio. But until then, I'll be playing Friends Hangout and Gaslight couples there by pretending to be someone's ex. Because